Further nominations for president.
I move that we close nominations.
Took my words out of my mouth. At this time, we'll proceed to a vote on candidates for president. All those in favor to elect Chad Blessinger as president for the 2022 term signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying no. Congratulations, Mr. Blessinger. You'll be the 2022 term president for the Board of Commissioners. At this time, we'll also then seek nominations for the office of vice president.
I'll nominate Commissioner Hoffman.
Any further nominations? Hearing none, we can close the nominations and proceed to a vote on the candidate for vice president. All those in favor of electing Nick Hostetter as vice president for the 2022 term signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Congratulations, Mr. Hostetter, to be the vice president for the 2022 term. That would close my reorganization.
Thank you, Mr. Schneer.
You're welcome.
Okay, first items we have for business here, we have the meeting minutes from the December 20th, 2021 meeting. Does anyone have any additions, edits, changes to the meeting minutes? I'll move that we approve the meeting minutes for December 20th, 2021 as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next up, we have the payroll for the previous period. Anyone have any additions or changes to the payroll? All in favor of the payroll, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. Payroll is approved. Next up, we have the voucher expense report, which is the claims against the county. Has everyone had a chance to review those?
Yes.
I'll move that we approve the claims against the county as presented.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. We will let the drainage board a little bit later. We have minutes for that we will approve during that meeting. Looks like we'll go into the highway supervisor report with Mr. Bird.
I'm good, how are you? Thank you. Short one?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, that's pretty good.
And then again, good vote.
We get a-
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Correct. Thanks, dude.
Okay, item number one, just going back as a refresher or a reminder again, to prevent damages caused by excess weight on county roads during the periods of freeze and thaw conditions. The ordinance that we have put in place at the last meeting offers a 10-ton gross weight limit on all roads in Du Bois County, on county roads except for 3rd Avenue from the Jasper city limits to State Road 162. The effective period is from Saturday, January 15th through Friday, April 15th. Okay. Next thing up, going to be working with Greg on this. We're working on a proof of claim for White Stallion. So we have numbers together to go to the courts, so.
Okay.
I've got a few things together, we'll get with them.
When is that stuff due? When does that due, the bankruptcy items?
What's the number up to?
No, when are they due?
The due date.
Oh,
Yeah,
I think it was January 14th on that proof of claim.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
I know we had a couple weeks in the first of the year, so.
I had a resident in that area said they got a big book of paperwork in the mail saying, you can either go along with whatever our plan is, or you can fight it. And they said, nobody's gonna be able to read all of that. So
A lot of mail going out.
I'm not sure what the status is out there. I've heard that someone's going to reclaim it, and then I've heard some of it will be reclaimed and some of it won't. So I'm not sure what the,
Yeah, I think until the dust settles through the court system, it's gonna be hard to tell. I don't know.
do you have any past experience of what reclaiming that would look like? No, not really.
Actually not as far as the ground. Somebody is gonna have to live with a big lake, a deep lake, but, the extent of that, we don't know. I know there is, reclamation money, from the state through abandoned mine and all that can help pay for some of that. And then we have bonds on our roads that help us get our roads back, so, we'll just have to see how it all shakes out. Next item, I have included, an activity summary, for 2021. It includes all of the, paving that we did this summer, or this past year, surface treatments, patching, bridges, culvert replacements, road striping, road signage, safety projects that we may have done. I've got copies for you to take home and read at your leisure. So, got any questions on it? We'll talk about it and go from there. So. Usually try to do these once a year. That kind of puts a recap on everything that we went through and did. So, last item up, planned in my budget for 2022 was a road striper, which we plan on replacing. We've got an old Easy Liner that was purchased in 1993. Over the course of the last 7-8 years, we've been trying to upgrade it and get it to perform better. And we're just at the point now we're spending any more money on it. We're not getting that return back because we keep having problems through our striping season. So, in my budget this year, I had planned on purchasing a new one. Since striping usually takes place right after blacktop roads are paved, and that could be May, June, July. We'll need a striper here. I'd like to get one ordered as soon as we can. So we're working on some quotes right now. If it works for you, we get them all put together. I'd like to order them here at the next commissioner meeting if we can. So I think we looked at one at Harrison County. Looks like a pretty decent sized unit. I believe that was an Easy Liner too.
I went along for that.
Yeah, but we're needing one. It's just in bad shape. You see a lot of it going down the road where our classic takes place, and it's just pressures and stuff. So I think we're better off with it.
That's a machine it's an independent machine. It's not an attachment for.
No, basically it's
or something like that.
it's on a skid. It's got a pump on it. We set it on. We've got ton trucks, and they serve two purposes. In the wintertime, they're plow trucks and brine trucks, and in the summertime, one is a striper truck for striping roads. The other one is our weed spraying truck. So,
So it is an attachment that fits.
it is an attachment. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got an engine on its own, and it's a hydraulic piston pump which provides the pressure for the spray. And there's a whole lot whole lot of different settings on it that make it do a much better job. So, we've been trying to stay up with a lot of striping. Not only do we stripe the new roads that we do or the new roads that we put seal coat down, but also when I start running my pacers in August, I'm also looking at the older roads out there, and if we've got some lines that are starting to thin out or, come hard to see, we'll touch those up as well. So, works pretty well. So with your permission, I'll go ahead and put specs together, maybe have something here for the next meeting.
I have no problem with that. I think it's necessary to keep our equipment running. Anybody else?
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right, so I think last Thursday you got a call, or Michaela got a call from a customer or a citizen about a road that the business is leaving junk on the road. Did you hear about that yet?
This morning. Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to share with the commissioner since we were here, that lady sent me a bunch of pictures and her thoughts on the situation. So
Okay.
I'll just share it while you're up here. I figured you might have some feedback. So here's what was sent to me. I don't know if you can see that or not. Let me first read, I guess, what she said. So it's on 600 West. So this is the road that's brand new, a hot mix project last year. They're happy that the hot mix was done and the road was fixed, but now they said there's been problems up there for many years with this or for a couple of years with this business leaving junk in the road. So the question was, it's terrible road conditions at all times, extreme when we have rainy or snowy days. It's a newly paved county road. It's unsafe to drive from the junket business all the way to Highway 56. So she sent me some photos of that. There's mud. She said when there isn't mud and gunk caked on the road because there's large trucks coming in and out in the parking lots, gravel or mud at the entrance sometimes, it pulls it out on the road, kind of like the coal mine consistently did. And then she said that on days whenever it's clear and sunny, then the road glistens from, which she can only assume is glass from, people bring glass in there, I guess. I haven't verified any of this. I haven't went and looked myself, but this has been there for several years. So this is her. She said since over the last couple of years, she's had to replace 2 brand new tires. She told me she can't conclusively say it was from this place, but she has a newer vehicle and she's had to replace a couple tires, and they may or may not be from here. There are also times when the county road is totally blocked in front of the junket property. Pickups with trailers swing wide trying to get into the lot, and the entrance is blocked with other vehicles. She told me, I think last week she'd wait 10 minutes to get that way. And also there's sometimes where the road is so bad that if her vehicle's clean, she'll have to go north and take the long way to get to wherever she wants to be, just to avoid the mess on the road. Trailers are parked outside of the gate. That was one that concerned me because it's a safety issue if it's too close to the road. So let me just show you what picture she sent, and then we can just discuss it. So here's the entrance. It looks like it's muddy a little bit, vehicles coming in and out. She took these photos, I believe, last Thursday, and she said that yesterday when she called me, she said they must have seen me out there taking pictures because they put rock there. She said she didn't know if they had brought new rock in or if they took it from somewhere else on the property, but it's been rocked now, and today it looks better than it did last Thursday, but this is what it looked like at that point.
Okay.
I'd like to scan through pictures. I'll go to the next one here.
Do they have pictures of the trailer?
Yep, we got that. So there's the road. Again, this one doesn't look terrible, but you can see where they swing wide. There's dirt considerably on the one side of the road and where they exit that way. So it's pretty clear where it's coming from. This is another different view of the entrance. Another view of the road. So it's pretty much coating the road. I would assume with all the rain we had this weekend, now it's washed off, it's in the ditch, so I wouldn't think it'd be terrible if we looked at it today. Here is her vehicle, she's on dirt. And she had a couple other photos of vehicles that were dirty. And then here's the one of I can't tell, I guess, is this their entrance or is this a,
I think that's, well, they've got two entrances there. This almost looks like it might be on the south side.
this is the closest to 56? So, I don't know. I told her, I said, on some county roads, we have right of way where vehicles couldn't be parked, and other ones we don't. I don't know what the situation is. When she called, I have to tell people that we live in a county with no zoning, and so a business can be anywhere. So if she was gonna complain about the nature of the business, or why is this business allowed in my residential area, I said, business, they could have a hog farm go right next to your house, the way things are set up currently, or so there's not much we can do about the nature of the business. If they are messing up a county asset, such as the road, or making it unsafe or unpassable, there is probably something we could do about that. So I wanted to share with the board to see if there was any action you thought we should take, hear what the highway department had to say about that.
Let's see what the condition is. I know when material is brought out on the road like that, it can't be slick, and people can slide through the intersection, sliding on that, so that could be an issue. We could force them to clean it up or clean it up ourselves and charge them. Something like this, you almost have to have a big water truck and hose it off, or like the fire truck, blow the right off the roadway, or maybe even after it rains, something like that.
So do you think they are 600 yards from 56? Do you think they're about that?
They're probably there.
And so that's a considerable amount of road that's gonna be soiled.
Yeah. And it's that,
As long as they have rock and heavy equipment coming and going, they're gonna get some of that, whether they, probably double if they have more rock down. But yeah, they're gonna drag that out there no matter what.
Yeah, I don't think, there's not a whole lot you can do with it outside of the fact that if they are making a mess, they are responsible to just try to keep it down and clean it up as best they can. So, it's just like anything else, when you're pulling out of a farm or anything else, you're gonna be dragging that stuff out there. There's not much you can do with it, but when it's as bad as what we've seen in some of those pictures, that something needs to be dealt with there. So,
Yeah, it probably wouldn't hurt to go ask them to try to do a better job of.
See, I think that's the usual procedure on that, is you would take a look at it, determine what the issue is, and have a conversation with them and say, these are our concerns and we need to see some resolution. If you can take care of that without further action, why?
I guess I'd like maybe if he would write a letter and like say, hey, this is Mr. Berg from the highway department, we've got a complaint. I'll be making a visit to your business on whatever, pick a day a week later. That way we have a formal, something that we've sent you a letter, we visited you in person, so we have something in mind.
And I'd ask them too, the way the trailer's parked, if they park it behind the ditch, yeah, it's probably not so bad. But as it is, if the truck's backing in there to pick that trailer back up, it's gonna be out on the road.
Yeah.
Truck is.
And she said, why are they doing that? I said, well, it's likely that they don't have enough of a footprint for as much business as they have, so they're finding a spot to put it.
Yeah.
And
And I don't know, that might be lowered, so they're probably, when they're bringing the empty trailer.
yeah, there's stuff in there.
He's coming in here, he's taking off of this one, so it's,
And she was being kind about it. She understands that people do business and she wants to be a good neighbor, and she hasn't complained in the years that have been here, but like this, she said, well, if it was dark at night, if it got even a little closer, it could be a safety thing.
Yeah.
And I'd say they probably, if somebody approaches them, they'll, I don't know.
Move.
yeah.
Step in that hole.
They could,
The nature of their business is what it is, and probably if we go ask nicely that they do these things, I assume they probably do.
Hope so.
yeah, we're not probably send a letter.
Send a letter and make a visit. I think it's a good first step. We're not here to give anybody a hard time. We want businesses in Du Bois County, and we want happy residents. Owners.
I'd rather that one spot where he's collecting all the junk and getting it out of here than it to be the street out of
In somebody's yard.
Or the road.
Right.
Or the ditches, or the lakes. Okay, so thank you for looking that over, and I appreciate you taking those actions. Anybody have anything else for Steve?
I don't think so.
Brent?
All right, I've been gone since our last meeting, but Scott did send me an email today, Scott Hope, to Tuck Point Monument. We had talked about getting the people that were gonna replace the stones, to come in and give a full thing to redo the whole monument, Tuck Point, it gets the other stones that are broken, get them fixed. He has a quote of $11,292 to do the rest of the work on that monument. He wanted to know if you guys are okay with that, if he can go ahead and tell them we're getting that done.
No, in addition to the $5,000.
So he told me it'd be a total of $16,292.
Cindy, have we received funds from the Community Foundation for,
We had to sit down and hammer out those details and how that was going to get transferred in.
so we can't approve it because I don't think we have money for it. That sounds like fair.
The county doesn't have the money right now, the foundation does,
Yeah.
they just haven't got it to us yet.
Right. So how do we want to proceed with that? Do we want to, are you guys good with the quote? And then we can approve it once the funds are there, or Scott can formally approve it with them once the funds are there? Or do we want to sit on it? What do we want to do?
Would it be your thought that we should get a bid from someone else?
There's nobody else around here that's going to touch this.
Masons that would do that kind of work.
It's a sandstone. It's not, this is not concrete work. So this is a specialized. What they're going to do is we go find somebody local. They're going to go to this guy.
So this 11,000 will be from ground to base of the soldier?
And what was the 5,000 for?
That was to fix the additional stones that that needed to be worked on.
I went and looked at the monument on Friday, I think it was, and there's actually a piece missing from it now.
He took one of them. He took a piece from it.
A corner?
Yeah,
Okay,
he
so
took
somebody
it to get the proper stone.
I was
He
like,
gave it
"This is
to he gave it to this company here to get it done. So that way it gets the same stones, same density and everything. So it blends in.
I'm satisfied that we do it for no other reason than Mr. Rudolph left the money for this purpose in particular, and if that's what it costs to get it done, I think this meets his wishes. It doesn't come from the taxpayer dollars, and I think it'd be a great facelift for the monument.
How much are you talking again? Because we're gonna have to have council, we set up the fund and they're gonna have to appropriate it, so how much did you say?
11,292.
Yeah, it'd be a total of $16,292 because of the 5,000's already been quoted to fix the replace the stones that were originally needed to be replaced.
So Scott was gonna pay for that.
Yeah.
We had money in place for that, is what I was at the time.
Correct.
But,
We
but
can-
But now we can take it from a different
We can take it
source.
from-
Different source. Yeah.
We just couldn't approve that 5,000 without having a way to pay for it, and we had one, or had one.
So, I mean, I can call them and see when they're gonna be giving it to us.
I know there was talking, that the money's there, ready to be given. We just have to set up an account and
Which
tell them how to
We
do
did,
that.
I mean, council did all that.
The council did do all
They
that.
set up the fund, they just haven't appropriated anything because we don't have anything to
Yeah,
appropriate.
so we can, so that needs to get happening, and then we can go from there, right?
So maybe after your time is done presenting to us, then you can just contact them and say, hey, can we get we'd be happy to accept a check.
You want me to call them?
I don't know, I mean,
what's that?
or, I just thought maybe since you'll have them afterward, that if we could just go in the hall and say, Commissioner Blaney.
Yeah, I could call Foundation.
If you don't mind, or I don't know, unless Sandy wants to handle it after the meeting. And then, so either way, when we get a check from them or however we get the funds at the next council meeting, they will have to, appropriate it for this purpose.
Yeah, because I'll need, at least 40,000 for the wall work around the outside. You'll need the 16 for the
Pretty
monument,
much what we're
so
gonna do is appropriate everything they give us this round.
the whole 125.
Well, they split it between the two funds, remember?
I think we'll probably put 100 in the monument fund
There's two funds.
and 25 for the veteran
For
service.
veteran services.
I know I'm putting you in a weird spot calling them, 'cause that's not your job. I just thought since you had time, maybe afterwards.
So,
that okay?
Call them after you leave, otherwise it doesn't matter.
I'll call and get, at least get the ball rolling,
Yeah, thank you.
so.
If they ask you questions you don't know, say, Sandy will be ready at 10 o'clock to talk to.
Okay.
That sound good to
Put that
the
in writing.
board?
10 o'clock.
Hey, we should be. I'm hopeful.
So, all right, that's what I'll do.
Thank you.
You got anything else for me?
The freestyle ordinance, can you send that to me? I wanted to share that with Crawford
I
County.
didn't send it to you, did I?
You did send it to you?
I know I did not send it to you. I had all the intentions in the world and I never sent it to you.
I didn't see it.
That's on me, no, so I don't think
That's
that's.
part of our agenda, or minutes, right?
Yeah, but he wanted the digital copy to forward on, and I was gonna do that, a Word copy, that he could give on, and I.
Commissioner Crawford County asked me if we had one and what it looked like. And I said, I'm sure. it would.
Yeah, I will get that to you. And then the courthouse, or the square renovation, revitalization meeting, I saw it at a time, so I gotta call Renee and find out what's going on there.
What's going on there?
What time
Yeah, so
that
let's
is.
talk about that, I guess.
Was that on the agenda?
No, there was an email and I think some information that Renee had sent out a couple of weeks back. I know you were copied on it. Basically, sorry, I'm speaking on behalf of you guys, I believe. We need to figure out what our next steps are.
Yeah.
And when that meeting is, and then an interlocal agreement between us and the city.
Yeah.
So had either of you received that before I sent it to you?
No,
Was that with the links that showed the prices and things?
no, I think.
So I guess it had gone to Brent, it had gone to Greg.
I
but it
got
hadn't-
CC'd on a large list of city recipients and Brent.
I was on it too, yeah.
So you knew about it just a little bit after I did, but we haven't made any agreements with them. We have nothing in place stating what we will or will not do.
And that was my comment to your email, that even if we're agreeable to the cost or the expense that they itemized for the ramp and the parking lot, and the sidewalk, whatever we determine is our responsibility, even if we're agreeable to that, we need some kind of an agreement in place to say, otherwise they're doing our work, building a ramp for us, and
The council said the same thing, they think that something needs to be in
Yeah.
place.
We need to get a formal thing done, I agree.
And they wanna know how much money they're expecting from us.
And that's never been specified or requested or anything either.
I don't have a real problem with that, with things today, but I think the city will have a problem in a month when they're ready to accept bids and do things, and they have
Yeah.
they have nothing from us. They may have assumptions of what they think they want, but we don't. The communication hasn't been good. Like on this one,
Times that meeting today.
Because if they wanna know something for January, I gotta know this week to advertise it.
All day. I emailed Renee.
because I was at a meeting several weeks ago, and I thought the mayor said,
He had asked a question, I sent her an email.
the city or the county has the numbers, and at the time I'm like,
No.
I didn't have the numbers. And so what I sent to you, I guess Brent may have had the numbers a little before me, but you were out.
I was out, I was gone, so.
So it's just odd that we didn't have them.
anything we had before that was just, estimates. I'm gonna call them estimates. Before that. There's been numbers that have been thrown around, but no, we haven't had any,
Nothing formal.
nothing formal, and we still don't have any formal. I mean,
Those numbers are somewhat formal, but they're estimates.
Yeah.
They're still estimates. So
and they're numbers that the city is responsible for. I'm gonna say, we're not responsible for them until we get some kind of an agreement.
yeah, we've taken on nothing at this point.
Yeah.
So and again, I don't know if my numbers were right. I said that in that email, but it looks like $250,000 for what they have listed as the courthouse portion. And then I saw at the bottom where they had contingency and erosion, mobilization, and general conditions, which added another 24%. And then the part about paver sidewalks at the square, I don't know if that meant around our circle or if that meant around the square. So that was another $500,000. So I don't think that was our
I
portion,
don't think so.
another $250,000. So at this point, they're looking like under $300,000 would be the county's hard cost, I guess, a real cost for the project, and then I think the city made it clear that they wanted an additional contribution for the project. But at this point, we have nothing in place tying us to any of it.
Well, I know at the last council meeting, they discussed what fund they don't even know what fund they would take this from. It hasn't even got that far yet.
Then, take your 300,000, if they say, okay, 300,000, it's gonna cost 300,000 to do this work. Give us 300,000, we'll do the work. That's not really what we wanna do either. We want some kind of an agreement either with the city or with the contractor.
Right, there was discussions of whether or not basically what we call county work would just be a contract directly with us.
Yeah.
And then an interlocal agreement for anything in addition to that.
Yeah.
But again, that all happened pre-holidays.
Yeah.
I did just email to see what time that meeting may be as well, Brent.
Okay, so it just popped up.
So I think that both of you know where we stand on it. You've had conversations with the city and you've been involved. You could let them know that the county is I feel like we're considerably further behind than where they are.
We're not opposed to the project, but we need to have contracts in place, we need to get hard numbers in place on what we're gonna be requested to spend, this is all needs to happen here ASAP.
And even if the board of commissioners said, we're great with whatever portion of this, we're good with the ramp, we're good with the parking lot, and we're good with taking the contribution and we make up a number, it's not up to us. We don't get to make a determination on, we can say, yes, it's okay to do the project, but the council's gonna have to be brought along to say, how much money is the county willing and able to spend? So even if they didn't bring us along, you gotta bring the county council along. Because what I would hate is for the city of Jasper to assume that $300,000, $1 million, whatever the amount they're thinking, that they're counting on that, and then the council's like, well, that they're not doing it.
Right.
For whatever reason. I'm not saying that I have any reason to believe that they won't work with them. But I don't want it to turn into a bad situation.
Okay, we can do it.
Anybody else have any comments on the courthouse downtown project? If you hear something before meeting's end, just maybe let us know. Thank you, sir.
Meeting's at 2, right?
Meetings at 2, there you go.
Meeting is at 2 o'clock. If anyone would like to attend,
All right,
I am in a mediation at that time. I'm sorry.
I think I could be there at 2:00.
Is it going to be virtual or is it going to be in person?
I think it'll be in person. Probably be down Fall by the room.
Nothing water.
I'll double check on that. Okay, it's about $5.
You didn't do a report, did you, Brent?
Well, we can move on to the next agenda item. As always, still well ahead of schedule.
It's just hard to know.
Well, we'll save animal control for in 10 minutes. We'll see if there's any other items that we have. First up, we've got a letter of support. I put together a letter that was a real close mirror to something that State Senator Houchin put forth for the Next Level Connection Round 3 Selection Committee, stating that we support the letter, or we support the application of Charter Communications for Next Level Connection Broadband Grant. So I was going to have the board review the letter, and if it is acceptable to the both of you, then we can approve it and send it to that company.
This is what you emailed us.
Yes.
I've looked at it. I don't see any problem with it.
It's similar to what we did for PS.
Yes.
Would you like to see the letter?
No, backing up on our last topic, to keep, I know it's a little fluid here, but the meeting is at 2, it's a virtual meeting by Zoom. I'll send the link to everyone on the board.
Okay.
Okay, I'll move that we approve sending the letter of support from the commissioners of DuBois County to Charter Communications for their broadband grant application for the next level connection.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Steve, I do have a thing I wanted to give you here. Do you do work with Sternberg Chrysler for any of your vehicles out there?
Yes.
Okay, so I got a coupon that came in the mail from the Board of Commissioners, so if we need anything, I guess you can have that. Do with it what you like. I didn't know if this was appropriate to bring up at the public meeting, but I guess I'll go ahead and do it anyway. We've, at our solid waste meetings and talking to the highway department over the years, we've been considering needing some real estate to either expand the highway department if there was some footprint around that building that we could use, or I don't know if we've ever really considered seriously moving the whole operation, except when maybe if the corridor went through there. And then with solid waste, like I said, we've talked about what are we going to do with the future of that building. There's land that's 7 acres in the southeast DuBois School District on the State Road 162. It's across from Cedar. I think Cedar Crest is out there. The school is there. And it's land that's been for sale on and off over the years. And my memory of it was that it kind of sloped downhill and that it was probably flood land or wasn't any good. You know, I just made assumptions on the land, but then I looked at it on the GIS. The GIS pictures when they were taken, we accepted the photography after it had rained considerably. So the benefit of that is you get to see where water pools, or where more flood prone areas were. There's no water here. There's no water anywhere close. I checked the state's, the DNR's flood map, and it's not in the flood zone. I just thought, location-wise, it'd be a fine location for either of those, a highway facility or for solid waste, if we wanted to consider it. And so, for no reason other than just to bring it up, if you want to look at it, it might be something worth looking at.
Directly across from the school? That's a hillside.
I can show you where we're at here.
Here's this right in here, the wooded area?
Yep.
Okay,
And it's brush.
that's kind of a hillside, isn't it?
No, it goes down.
The hillside is.
Yeah,
up
the
there.
hillside is right here. So when you take that little lane
Yeah.
up to this person's home, that goes uphill, but this is pretty
This is
flat. If nothing,
the old
it
Blessinger.
slopes to the west.
Alex Hope, okay, that's the old Blessinger, not the old Blessinger, but it used to be a Blessinger who lived there. And
So,
this is
again-
Berkeley's.
What's highway's footprint right now?
uh,
20 acres.
I don't know where, if there's any Berkeley's own any of this or not.
5.
Yeah, I was gonna say for 7 acres for a highway, probably wouldn't even touch it.
Wait a minute.
Oh,
wouldn't be enough, you mean?
Wouldn't be enough. But, for solid waste, it might be.
Well, but something that we could consider is if,
Let's see, egress like there. That would hard people out.
well, where that lane is,
There's a curve in there.
that lane is approved, so that's what, like, if you were gonna buy it and put a house there, you would share that lane with that person or build off of that lane.
Because I know the one guy there has that convex mirror across from their house, so they can see.
That's true, somewhere in that curve. Again, I don't have any feelings about it other than I just noticed it as I was looking at properties for
So
sale.
location's excellent.
Yeah, the location's fine, and
Location you're in county.
I think you're looking at, maybe $12,000 an acre or something, so $90,000, $96,000 or something. Which for highway frontage, if it's usable, is reasonable.
section.
But then again, as I've seen this property for sale over the years, maybe there's something wrong with it that I don't know that it hadn't sold. But if the other commissioners or the highway or solid waste wants to look at it, it's probably good to, we were told to keep our eyes open, so I kept my eyes open.
Absolutely. There's, what is that, 6 acres? Have to buy that just.
And the other thing that we can consider too is just because the highway department, let's say the highway department would,
That's the old dairy.
if you have other,
The barn's falling down.
there's nothing saying you couldn't store some equipment here if you needed more on your footprint and the solid waste could use it, you know, where we could share properties. Because it would probably be tough for the county to direct or to justify completely moving you out of your current location because we've got the big buildings that I don't know, solid waste would probably wouldn't use all of that. So maybe we could share locations and expand in that way, if that would work.
I think overall, in the grand scheme of things, if we're looking to do something like that, it makes sense to put both of them at the same place.
Solid waste and the highway, okay. So you're saying, in your opinion, it doesn't make sense to have half of it on Brettsville Junction and half of it here? For both of your,
Probably not, especially if you're looking at constructing new buildings.
so 7 might not be enough.
Not gonna have both departments in the same one location.
Yeah, especially if you're putting both of them at the same place, because I'm sure, you know.
Because you'll still have 5 acres like you have now, and she'll take the other 2, and you won't have benefited other than maybe your structure. But Carla may look at it and say, that's ideal. That's right there in the heart of everything. There's roads going every direction.
I would like to have it more on a main thoroughfare.
Yeah, that's been, I think, it's been hard to find for a lot of people.
Carla said sometimes you don't, for her facility, you don't want people just driving by and bringing in one little thing or it, but to me, I think
I would
it would
disagree.
be really nice to have a facility with, that's visible and it shows that Du Bois County actually cares about recycling and
I think if people drove by it on a regular basis, that would give them more encouragement to get the things together and bring it there. If it takes 5 trips versus 1 big trip, I don't have a problem with it.
And that, I think you might even see the numbers of recycling uptick just a little bit as well. I think make it more convenient.
And as you mentioned earlier, if they're taking it there, they're not leaving it in their yard with no other neighbor, which happens. We get those calls all the time. So, all right, just food for thought. It's 8:45, we'll do the animal control discussion. What this is about, we had a couple invoices. We get invoices every month for when a sheriff's deputy takes an animal to, they find an animal on the loose and they'll take it to Dogwood Veterinarian Clinic. Dr. Dan Hossenauer out there, I think is who we normally go to. They'll board the dog for a number of days. If no one claims the dog, then the Humane Society will take the dog and put it up for adoption. I think does that sound accurate? What happened on 2 occasions, one, the city of Jasper brought an animal in and the other one, the county brought in. And I believe both, and again, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the animals there was either malnutrition or there was a problem with something, a health condition with the animals. And so they stayed for a long period of time. I guess
There was a court case with it.
and there was a court case with it. So one, I believe a person, they moved out of their apartment and they left the dog in the apartment. So I guess a person gets an animal neglect charge, they get whatever, they get some charges. Long story short, there's over a $2,000 bill for each of these animals. The court case has recovered or is in the process of recovering some of those funds. From the county, generally, we have budgeted money every year for animal control issues and we would pay whatever the bill is to help take care of the issue. The issue that we had was we've never paid for anything in the city of Jasper. Generally, the city of Jasper will collect an animal I believe they have staff on hand that will handle that animal with the highway department or street department for however many days they do it. And then I don't know what their process is. I don't want to get too far into it. But in other words, Jasper usually takes care of Jasper stuff and we take care of the county stuff. In this case, both bills were sent to us. And the auditor was asking, should we pay these bills? I said, well, I don't think we should probably pay the one for Jasper Police brought in because that's not, it's in their jurisdiction. They usually take care of all the animals. So I sent a message to Chief Schmidt, Mayor Vonderheide, and I think Alan Seifert. I stopped in and visited with them, and none of them were in at the time that I stopped in, so I emailed them. And Chief Schmidt wrote back saying he was going to look into it, but I haven't heard anything from them. Do you have any thoughts? I mean, do you think that we should pay for the animal control from the city of Jasper? What's that?
It's a rather large bill.
So I think theirs was $2,300. $1,000, I believe, was recovered through the lawsuit, or is supposed to be through the
Restitution.
restitution. And so there's a $1,300 bill still sitting out there. Our question was, and I guess we could talk to the prosecutor's office, if the bill was $2,300, why did we only get $1,000 in restitution? Why should the taxpayers have to pay for a crime someone else committed, basically? So if this person would have abandoned the dog, we would have taken care of it, we wouldn't know the source, and that's just kind of cost of doing business, I guess. But
As you said, we have it in our budget. I don't recall very many expenses along these lines over the years. This is kind of unusual.
We
we do it every month.
Yeah, we get some animal claims, but nothing to this scale.
It's usually $100 because
They
they stay for 4 or 5
Yeah, they
days.
hold them a few days.
So-
25 bucks a day.
So it appears in our claims and.
This one they held
and that's as
for
far
the
as it
time of
goes.
the trial, so I think that's what accumulated.
And it's not a thing that the county is responsible regardless of whether it happens in city or out of city or anything like that. In the past, the city has been responsible.
If they brought their dogs in, they took them to their street department. If the sheriff brought them in, then we paid for that bill. Like I said, normally they held them a few days and then if they're not claimed, then they go to the Humane Society.
I was just checking my emails to see if they had written anything back to them, and it doesn't look like it. In other words, just keep working with the city, and is it at this point, it's our contention that it's their officer brought the dog in, their officer should take care of it?
If that's what's been going on in the past, if that's the proper thing to do, like I said, there are some things that the county, by statute or whatever, the county is responsible for regardless of where it happens in the county. But then we haven't been doing that over the years, so I don't suspect this is one of those situations.
The difference on this was this dog neglected and he needed some medical care, and that's why they took him to the vet versus keeping it. I know on the fringe of this, I mean.
Yeah.
Me too.
So normally when the city collects a dog or an animal, they don't take it to the vet.
They take it to their street department,
Yeah, and
and I don't know what
this
to do with
this is an
it.
unusual case where it went to the vet, and the vet normally bills the county.
And it was held because there was a court case, so it was longer than, it was more days than normal.
Yeah, I'd investigate through the city as to whether or not that's our responsibility, our responsibility or their responsibility. I don't want the animal clinic to be out.
Right, somebody will pay it.
Somebody will pay it. Want somebody to pay it.
Was there just one case?
2 cases,
But one court case?
2 court cases.
2 court cases. Okay, so both were an extended period of time because of the court case.
That's my understanding.
Again,
Well, that's part
potentially
of
a restitution claim, again, who has to hold him? Sorry.
We need more details.
I would-
Would, and is it,
If the animal's held for an evidentiary purpose, okay, then might be another department that would be responsible for that. Ultimately, it still may be a county's ticket, but whether or not that was the prosecutor or the law enforcement agency that was involved with it specifically is what, and again, that restitution claim could have maybe been escalated up to the appropriate amount there, but that ship was probably still at this point.
Does the city know we got this bill?
Yes, I scanned it and sent it to them. And like I said, I sent them an email.
I think people were out last week, so it's hard to.
That's why I wasn't really too worried about not receiving any action. Mr. Henry, would you mind asking somebody at the prosecutor's office?
That's fine. Somebody share with me some information. All right, I'll talk with her.
So that would be, at least making a note. All right, it's 8:55, EMS coordinator assistant appointment. Sandy, you mind telling everybody what that's about?
This year, Ryan Young, the EMS coordinator, decided that since Amanda does the claims, that he took less of a pay and he wanted Amanda to get some money, but we need to appoint her. Since we appointed Ryan, we didn't appoint Amanda.
Anybody have an issue with this?
He didn't feel right taking the whole check when she did some of the work for us.
No, I don't have an issue.
I think it's a good thing.
The council budgeted this, so.
I'll make a motion that we, I'm gonna grab that back before I make a motion that we appoint Amanda Ferguson as DuBois County Ambulance Coordinator Assistant for all of 2022.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a minute before we start on the,
Okay.
on this one.
Keep these in.
It's
real early.
Good work, good.
Good.
How
cold this morning.
Yeah.
Place because we have an account set up. So it's been hard today. That's kind of what I was thinking too.
No luck.
She's not in. I'll let you know her later. Yeah, he did take a little bit. So we're ready to move forward. So,
It'll be nice to be able that they're gonna send us, because that would be
something's supposed to hold me back, but he doesn't. I told him to go view as well. So go from there.
Good work on it.
Is that before Christmas? We talked about that dog, or was it in between Christmas and? No, I couldn't find where.
I honestly can't remember. Chad's gonna go with.
Another grandbaby right after Christmas. Bill had everybody's good. 5 girls.
You take it on extra babysit duties.
My makeup. Maybe
Just look at his fingernails.
Oh, really? That keeps things interesting.
Oh, man. Yeah,
We got recess now, right?
my girl stuff, it's big. Makeup sets, dollhouses are big,
Oh, yeah.
take up a lot of room.
I'm still an old fogey, probably still, I don't know.
You've got him that dollhouse TV yet. All right, we have just a couple minutes before the drainage board meeting starts at 9 o'clock. And I believe yesterday, Commissioner Bromas, you gave a 10-year employment award to someone, is that correct? Or did you do that? I thought I saw it on the Facebook. Did you give
Well, it
Lance?
was last week.
What was it, last week?
It's,
Lance Lori?
that's Laura, when we had the jail meeting, we were gonna go upstairs.
Yes.
I went upstairs
Okay.
and you went
somewhere else.
somewhere else.
So sorry about that.
Go ahead with it.
So, yeah, I apologize, I must have, lost my way.
After, it was after you and I and Mike were talking.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry,
Talking to Sherman and, yeah. So we went upstairs and did that, yes.
So we want to, I thank you for doing that and thank Lance Lori for his 10 years of service at the Sheriff's Department. Today, we also have another person, this guy's been here for twice that long. It's the Highway Department Supervisor, Steve Berg. We have a 20-year service award for Steve Berg. I just wanted to take a minute to present this to him and tell him thank you for his 20 years of service to DuBois County. So,
20 years.
everybody come up and take a picture with him, and we'll ask for a speech like we always do. So Steve, congratulations. Thank you for your
They
service.
usually get HR involved in this picture as well, so.
You want Steve's good side in this?
No, we wanted to.
You want to face us instead? There we go.
Hold
on.
One more.
You mind? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know.
There we go. You ready? Thank you.
So Steve, give us a speech. Give us a highlight or a low light of 20 years.
20 years has been great, but I don't think I'm good at for another 20.
You know? Another 10 maybe?
Wise words.
10 years.
So Steve, what was your first position with the county?
Actually, as superintendent, I was hired out of the construction industry. I ran concrete crews. We buried gas lines, water lines, utility work, that type of thing. So, jack of a lot of trades and master of a couple. And this opportunity came open, and the commissioners hired me, and it's been it's something you learn something new every day. I don't care how old you are or how long you've been there. You're always learning, and I think in order to be successful and be in a place so long, it also says a lot with the guys that you're working with and leading, because if you don't have their support, it's hard to be successful. It's a team effort. We all gotta just get in there and get it. And we've got some good people. And thanks.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
And it's the same now as it's been that I can remember over the last 20 years. When you go from a neighboring county into DuBois County, you can see the improvement. The roads are nicer. Things are maintained well. There's pride in the work that's done out there. And your leadership's a big part of that. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to call the commissioners meeting into recess now and call to order the DuBois County Drainage Board. Each year, the commissioners are required to have a minimum of one drainage board meeting, and this will be that. The first order of business will be the reorganization of the board. We'll have Mr. Schneider run that again, just for the board's information. Currently, the president of the drainage board is Chad Blessinger, the vice president Elmer Bromas, secretary Sandy Morton, and ex officio surveyor Ken Brosma.
Okay, so with the opening of the drainage board, first meeting, we'd ask for nominations to serve as president for the drainage board.
I would move that we retain the current board members.
The entire slate.
Yes, sir.
I'll second that.
All right, first and a second. Any objections or nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Thank you, Mr. Schneider.
Yes, sir.
The first order of business would be to approve the minutes from the January 4th, 2021 drainage board meeting. I believe you both had a chance to review.
Yes.
Do you have any changes or additions? Okay, I'll move that we approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. And we will see if Mr. Brosmer has any business for the drainage board this year.
Currently, the legal drain, Alder Creek, used to be called the MSC Anderson Drain, is being dredged. They're a little over halfway complete, and now it's underwater. So that one will be done as soon as the water goes down. They can get back in there. So that one gets dredged, I don't know, every 10 or 15 years. A couple of the joiners, farmers, kind of run that. They talk to the landowners, collect the money, talk to me. This year I did help them get a permit from the state, from the Corps of Engineers. Keep that on hand if someone calls them on it. So that one's going real well. Then the other one, Arnie Renner's here today, and he would like to get the Groundstocker ditch dredged. I don't know, Elmer, you were out there with us
I was,
5 or
yes.
6 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, I don't, has it been that long?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know, Arnie may know, but,
I couldn't hear what you said.
when did we walk that ditch? 5 or 6 years ago with the Corps?
2015.
Wow.
Okay.
Yes.
Issue with that one is, I don't know, 1.25 miles of it goes through a woods, and the Corps will not let us take the dredge material and place it along the ditch because the old dredge material, those piles are gone.
On part of it,
A part of it.
probably 2/3 of it.
Yeah.
And the rest is still there.
So they're saying that you take the dirt out of the ditch, place it along the edge of the woods, you're putting it in a wooded wetlands. So we could dredge it today, but we have to truck that dirt out of there. Put it in a dump truck, haul it out for 1.25 miles. So really, there's no permit needed if we do that. We could do that today.
Well, I've got 2 different conflicting reports on that. The Corps told me, Jared Bonnie told me that we need a permit. I think you were there when he said it, you guys. And I talked to Sam Werner down there. I think he's the head of the whole thing there in Newburgh. And he says we didn't need a permit, but like Jared said, we have to haul it out, you know.
Yeah. So it'd be no different than what I did with Alder Creek. Just let them know we're gonna do it. Here's how we're gonna do it. They send back a letter. If you follow these, what you told me, go for it. And that's fine. So
Alder Creek, can you tell me, is that in Madison?
Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure I knew where you're.
So it's Groundstocker.
And Gramelsbacher, is that the one by Stewart Road? Is it over in that area, or where's Gramelsbacher?
It's off of 620 west of the Alder Creek. It's on 620 west of the county road that goes parallel to it.
So Alder Creek, we need no action taken. On the Grammelsbacher ditch, if there's people that live out there that want it dredged and they're wanting us to take action,
Well, Arnie's here, he's the one that's been calling, he farms his land, the rest of the land is basically in woods. So Arnie has the most benefit.
Here's a view of it. This picture was taken, this GIS picture was taken when it was flooded, so this is
you're welcome
basically,
to come up if you like.
this is a cornfield, as I understand it.
If you zoom out just a bit.
This is cropland right in here. And then this is the creek that we're talking about, this is the ditch that we're talking about.
Now, this extends all the way up to the end of the cropland. Right up there where it begins.
Right up in here, yeah. And to haul that out of there, to haul all of this out there, and this goes all the way down here
Right
to
there.
Where it gets
Flat Creek.
Yeah.
Is that Flat Creek there?
Probably.
Flat Creek right here, yeah.
Right here is where, this is Flat Creek. And then, yeah, it jumps in flat.
What did I do? I lost something there. Generating slowly this morning. Okay. And this road right here is a dirt road.
And that's on top of the levee.
That's on top of a levee.
There's a deep ditch on each side.
Right.
That's what
This is a gravel, still gravel road, isn't it, Steve?
Which one?
That's
No,
That's
blacktop.
Blacktop, okay. This is the bridge across
This is Alder Creek right here.
Patoka down there,
Murray.
Division Road.
At public access, when it goes off to the right, it's still called
Yes.
Division Road?
Yeah.
Road?
Yes. Goes over here and then it goes north.
It's division until you get to that 90 that goes north.
There's Alder Creek right there, point that out in
This is Alder Creek. That's
Okay.
Okay, so that's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah.
So this one goes over in here. And this is,
Most people don't see the Grammelsbacher ditch.
Right, don't need to go back there.
there are big mosquitoes back there.
Yeah, very good. Yeah.
The county river.
But yeah,
So
this,
you have to go way back there beyond the field and start dredging from way back there,
Oh, don't touch my screen. The screen is a
touchscreen.
touch
You
screen.
don't clean it out in the woods, it wouldn't do this.
Yeah, no,
It
we're
needs to be
gonna
pretty
go
good
with
ones too.
Drain on
this
it.
is the road right here.
You don't clean down below Arnie, it's,
Builds back up there.
yeah. So last week I called Sam Werner again, and I said,
Is he the timber owner?
no, he's the Corps of Engineers local guy. He's a local rep, he's got a lot of bosses. I said, could you try one more time and talk to your boss? This ditch was dredged in like 1900 or 1899. Originally dug, and they put the dirt up on the bank, because they didn't truck it out back then, right?
Yeah.
Then it was clean, maybe in the 30s, 50s, and the last time was in the 80s.
yeah, that's probably right.
That dirt was never trucked out
Always pile it up, what they call spoil bags.
on spoil banks. Well, the spoil bank now, for that 1.25 miles, is gone. I don't know what happened to that spoil bank. If it eroded down, went back in the ditch, and is now down at the Mississippi Delta, it's not there.
Part of it's on the west side yet.
Yeah, there's trees growing on it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that was originally put there, that was put there in 1951 when they dredged it.
Okay.
When they put everything on the west side of the ditch at that
The
time.
east side of the ditch, as Elmer knows, is flat, it's grassed, and it's obvious the dirt was put along them. The piles aren't there, so that's the whole issue. They won't let us make a new pile. Gotta truck it out. And I had Sam check one more time, and he got back with me yesterday and said, you can clean it today if you truck it out, or you can try to get a permit to put the dirt there, but you may have to mitigate, which means take some of your farmland or some farmland and turn it into a wetlands. And that's an option if we want to go, but we got to find land and we don't know if it's going to be 1 acre disturbed, then you got to make a 5 acre wetlands or a 3. Don't know that, but you could.
It's one for every acre you disturb, it's 4, you have to replace it with 4.
Okay, so we're going to disturb, do the math on a windrow for 1.25 miles. It's not going to be that much land. So you could do that, but you have to go through the permitting process then, and they may.
Depends on the engineer's got to come in and do their work, and that's.
I've never had to do that, so I don't know how much work that is. I don't know.
I talked to Greg Mine a couple of weeks ago, and I wanted to know what a permit costs. And he said, well, the permit is cheap, maybe $100, but he said, then the engineer's got to come in there and make their studies, and I don't know what all they do, but that's what would be expensive. And I had a break in the levee there in 2017, we repaired that. And first they told me I had to get a permit, and had to do all the engineering work. And so I contacted an engineer and they sent me an estimate, like $10,000 just to do the engineering, And then that wasn't said, there could have been other possibilities, it might have been more than that.
That was for the levy?
For the levy.
Oh, yeah. Well, no until you ask. I mean, I don't know. It didn't cost anything for Alder Creek. That was really.
Well, I think there's a cropland on each side, isn't it?
Right.
Or does some of it go through the woods any place? I don't really know.
There's a little piece on the north end, but there's, they're not even gonna clean that in this dredging, but there's windrows in there. They put it on top of the old dredging.
Well, they told me that, if it's cropland, you can just throw it out.
That's right.
Otherwise you can't.
And they also, this is a unique situation. Usually it's cropland, which it is. And common sense, to me, that's why I kind of called Sandback, is it was there before.
Been there forever.
Yeah.
Does it make a difference, Mr. Brosmer, if it wasn't a regulated ditch? Does it make a difference if it's a different kind of ditch?
It may be a little easier with the regulated ditch getting it through, but the theory's the same. What's your name?
Steve.
Yeah, do you know what happened to the windrow along that ditch?
Yeah, one time, trying to think who dug that up, Dwayne Canese.
Joint Canese?
Yeah. And he put some of it, they hired somebody to come back in and level part of that. And I knocked some off too. We got a road goes all the way back.
Yeah, it's nice, yeah.
But 90%, or Arnie, a lot of that problem is log jams and stuff.
Yeah.
The dirt, I don't think there's that much dirt in it that really needs to be dipped.
In 1988, when it was cleaned glass, so.
Yeah.
Log jams in the Grommesbacher ditch?
Yeah, and beavers, they turn loose,
Well, that's easy
Solves a lot
enough.
of that
If
problem.
you don't dredge, you can pull the log jams out.
Well, I go down through there every couple of years by myself. I got a track hole and pull the
Okay,
jams out.
okay.
But, I don't want to do that for nothing anymore either, but I carried a lot of stuff out of that thing already. Since when's the last time, 88?
Yeah.
It's been clean.
Yeah.
And there's stuff floats in there, and jams it up just south of the gate there where Arnie's is a pretty good stretch of it. But I got down there and cut some up. Maybe some of it will float out, maybe it won't, I don't know.
That stretch you're talking about that starts on my property, I've cleaned that too several times since we had them down there, and they said, you gotta have a permit. Well, they said you didn't have a permit, but you gotta stack all the material on top of the previous fall, And that, when you dredge that out of there, it's gonna come out of there soup and water. It's gonna run, I mean, you can't, it just be like 4 gallon of water on that surface there. I mean, it was just, when they cleaned it out in 88, it was level, and it was probably 2 feet deep or something like that, It was just soup and it just running.
That's that way, and year round, it'll be that way year round. Yeah, just daytime.
As long as the water's in that ditch and there's one of those springs that run down through there.
So you're thinking that there's a better way than trucking it out?
The only other option is to fill out a permit and see if they make you mitigate. And if they do make you mitigate, then you gotta find the land and see if it's 4-to-1 or, right? That's your two options, truck it out or apply for a permit to dump the dirt along the ditch
And then maybe.
and then mitigate. But I trying one more time with the Corps with Sam, even though he's the lowest on the totem pole, he's gotta go up the ranks to just try a little common sense to say there was dirt there, right? Dumped in possibly a wooded wetlands when it was dug and
All through the years.
all through the years. And I didn't get anywhere with him, so he just called me back and said, my boss says,
These are the rules.
this is what we do.
Who's his boss is?
No, but Bonnick is higher than Sam.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I just heard the sound of the office down there.
No. He's just a local rep. He's from Jasper.
Tell me again on legal ditches, the funding for that, how that works.
Well, it's the adjoining landowners, you don't have to necessarily be right on the ditch to pay to clean that ditch. It may go back.
Maybe by the drains.
Yeah, and it's documented. They were paid for by the landowners, all these ditches, the drain swamps. And just like this one here, Arnie's land, if you look at the old records, they couldn't set the section corner out in there. There's a big wiggly line, it was just a swamp. And that's what, they dug these ditches to drain those swamps. So the adjoining landowners paid, and the county has a little stake in that. We have a fee. But now today you have to go back, and landowners have changed, right, over the years, and then that's who pays to clean that ditch.
So they pay as needed, or is there a tax that is assessed every year that accumulates in a fund?
As needed.
As needed.
And they're assessed so much footage along that ditch.
Grandpa used to tell me.
Some counties do have drain fees that they put into funds.
The last time we looked to that
We have
one,
not.
the last time we looked at one of these, the options for the landowners were, you can work together, and try to way to figure it out, or the county has the option of getting involved, assessing tax on it and taking care of it for you. I think the situation with that one, it's one in Huntingburg over by 64, that it'll probably be cheaper if you just did it on your own, because we get involved and people just basically can usually take care of it better on their own. So we could assess everybody and there would be a fund and it could be paid for, but it would be less expensive if the landowners take care of it.
So the county gets involved in determining what the assessment will be, and then the landowners are,
I mean, we don't even get involved with that currently.
No, it's pretty much all set.
okay.
It's pretty much predetermined from when they built that ditch, who pays how much, and just,
Well, my grandpa used to tell me that in the 30s, 40s, he said that every August he'd get a notice that said from the surveyor that said that it's time to go down and clean your section out. And they had concrete posts at each individual's, each entity, each one's land. And they had, I think, 60 days to go down and clean that out. And it said if you didn't, the county would do it and then put it on their taxes.
Okay.
And that's where they got all the stations.
Yeah.
I remember that there was quite a few of those concrete stations down there. But when I was younger, I hadn't seen one for a long time.
So what can we do to help? I mean, the only thing I'm thinking of is if Mr. Brosmerson has a letter and it says, please let common sense prevail, here's the history of this, and then it gets signed by the surveyor and the board of commissioners saying we support the folks being able to put it on the ditch instead of the
trucking it out.
because trucking it just isn't a viable option.
I remember when I was down there looking at it, and we all agreed that you wouldn't even be able to truck it out. Now, maybe today you could, you get some big balloon tires or something on the truck, but that ground will pump and get solved too.
You know, if you would start pumping dirt, I mean, tracks, you know, you don't need to be down there.
Well, it wouldn't take long hauling it out wet anyway. That leak out of that truck in about 2 runs. you'd be done.
You'll just be starting.
It's just soup coming out of there.
Yeah,
That's what
really,
it's
you get
gonna
one
be.
run before you ruin your path.
Yeah.
And that levee road, there's like, it's about half a mile on top of that levee.
Yeah.
But that is narrow, and you know, and Steve, probably you've been on there with a big truck and stuff. When you get up and sit in a cab, I mean, it's on both sides, it's down and everything. Yeah. It's narrow, I mean, say it'd be leaking, you know, and make that slip, and then another thing, all that weight, and there'd be, I don't know how many loads would have to go out of there. I mean, it'd be.
What they're gonna do with it is,
Well,
2/3 of it is brush. A lot of it.
yeah,
How you gonna haul that stuff, you know?
You know, I don't know. But then all that, even if it's dry, all that is going repeatedly over that same, I'd be afraid it would, you know, slip out on the side or, you know, collapse on one side or the other. Yeah.
Would a reasonable person look at this situation and say, oh, it definitely makes sense to haul that out of there?
Yeah.
Is there any reason why it's gonna hurt wildlife, safety of the community, anything just to put it on the side?
Throwing that dirt out, Al, wouldn't make that river or that ground raise 1/4 of an inch in water, would it?
So it sounds like the best option is to create the spoil or put it on the side, create the spoils. If they'll allow you to do that, with common sense, if they allow you to do that because it was there before, that's the best case scenario.
that's right.
Otherwise, mitigate.
That's right. To me, that's the best thing to find the land. It's either, it could be, I don't know, you can do the math pretty quick, but if you gotta take a few acres out of your cornfield and let it grow up into a wetlands, and that's what you gotta do. I don't think they're gonna make you go in and plant a bunch of stuff and all that, but they may.
And to do that, you take those few acres from whichever farmer it comes from, would those acres then be assessed or paid for through the assessment that the landowners would?
Oh, my guess.
Yeah.
Can do that, yeah.
Well, I asked, when I was doing this labor repair, I asked IDEM, get what her name is now, about what it costs, you know, per acre, if you violate an acre, or what 1 acre would cost. If you violated, say, 1/4 of an acre, you have to replace it with 1 acre, right?
Right.
And I asked her what 1 acre would cost, and she said $64,000. And I don't know where it was near.
Well, I was in a situation, a guy wanted to put some fill into a wetlands. And all he had to do was find another piece of land, take it out of the farm program and just let Mother Nature regenerate it. He needed 5 acres, he was disturbing an acre. And he didn't have to go through, do any plantings or dig any ditches. So I think it's all gonna be, it's all a little different.
Yeah, I think it's gonna depend on who your IDEM
Yeah.
and your Corps of Engineer contact is gonna be, because they have that fee program now where you just pay so much money into the program and then the Corps or IDEM will create their own wetlands. Or similar to what we did for Mill Street, you know, when we did that, we could never get this wetland to cooperate.
Right.
So we went to Pike County, which was still in the Potomac River watershed, and we bought 10 acres, and now Fish and Wildlife maintain it for us. Now, I know that 10 acres wasn't the cheapest, but in the grand scheme of things, it was a lot less headache than we bought it, gave it to Fish and Wildlife, and now it's done.
Yeah.
This one could be different. I don't know how that works. I think it just depends on who you talk to at IDEM and Corps, and who, you know, depends who your representative is going to be there. That is it. Aileen?
Driscoll.
There you go.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
She seems pretty easy to talk to and understands things. I think you might be able to convince her what's going on. She may do that.
Well, I asked her, you know, the Corps said we could dredge or had the spoil was still there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked her, you know, if I could go in there with a track hoe and do that. And she said, you better not do that. You know, you steer that thing and then you disturb the soil. And I mean, it'd take 2 months later, that would be all healed up.
Yeah, you never even noticed.
It's just crazy, I mean, I don't.
Yeah, it is. I agree.
Common sense is out the door anymore, that's where the problem is. Common sense, or the
Well,
world's in the shape it's in.
I can see why you wanted to level those spoil piles over those years, but man, that created an issue. You know, just by leveling those piles, now here we are.
Well, there wasn't any on the east side until.
88. They always put it on the west.
The only time I knew it was on the other
Those
side.
trees-
Like I say, that was fall on the west, and that was put there in 61.
Now, those trees on the top of those spoils are,
Still there, they're
they're huge.
Yeah,
That's why it surprised me that they,
that was, the dirt was mostly on the west side. I don't know, originally, I don't know about now on Dwayne, until he put it on the east side.
Yeah, they didn't want to clear all that off.
yeah, yeah.
That's just why.
That's probably why.
They got trees on the east side too. I mean,
They what?
They didn't want to have they got trees on the east side. They had a bunch of trees. And that was the first time that I know of, but it was kind of not there way back. Not sure there, but it wasn't much of a.
So if you went over on the west side and cut all those trees, they might let you put the spoil over there then.
Like this.
That'd be a job, wouldn't it? So I guess we gotta make a decision what to do, either do nothing, try to talk to the Corps again one more time and say, look, it's common sense that there was dirt over there. We have proof that there are landowners that say there was dirt there. Or try to go see if they make us mitigate.
What if we, like took the debris out, cleaned all the debris up good down through there, you know? Would you say that would be no problem?
You can always even take the debris out of the ditch.
Yeah. Cause I've taken some out myself, you gotta take that, you can't let it in there.
Yeah.
But if a guy could try that and then see how everything flows before we go through all this crap, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, we were talking about that, I think they were down there. 15. They make it out.
I got a rake on the truck. Probably 5 or 6 feet. 6 feet, it goes right on the bucket. And you can rake the brush out with it.
Yeah, you could rake down over a couple feet. I mean, there's logs buried under there. I'm telling you, it's all over now.
But I'm thinking if we got down to, got all the brush out, that would help a lot, I think, don't you think?
Yeah.
I mean, at least try it before we go through all this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'd say.
Because it's not that it's all the way down through there, you know? At certain spots, but like up there toward the north end, it's pretty bad right there on me, you know?
I mean, you're looking for some direction from us, is that what you're looking for?
I don't know what we're looking for.
How about this? We are happy to help you any way we can. If we need to write a letter, make phone calls, do anything like that, you can let us know, or you can let Mr. Brooks know, he can let us know. Not that we don't have a whole lot of political clout, but we can at least.
I'm thinking that we need to decide either take the debris out, if that's enough, or you can get them to allow you to put the spoils on the bank to dredge it. Or if it needs to go a step further, all those things cost more money. And is that something the landowners are willing to accept? I guess what I'm saying is come back and say, this is what we're gonna have to do, and the landowners are willing to accept this, and so this is what we'd like to do going further, going on. And I don't even know if we need to approve that, or.
No.
Well, you go through and pull the debris out.
Yeah.
Same time you go back and say, hey, try and get the spoils on the bank.
I could be working on that if they.
While you're taking the debris out, and if it doesn't work out, and it's still draining well, and the debris out for good. It's not draining well, then we need to go back to authentication.
I don't know if a guy can get started on that without in trouble. We gonna do it. I got a track open. I don't want to do it for now. You know what I mean? Unless you guys want to hire somebody on how you do that, take the debris out.
Well, you'll be paying for it anyway. We don't pay any. That's just like Alder Creek. Those guys
Well,
take care of it.
But it'll be shared. It won't just be him, it'll be shared.
Yeah. That's right.
So that's the point you're making.
Yeah, I got one. I've done it. I've owned that ground since 2001 and I've cleaned it myself.
Yeah.
Arnie's been down there doing some stuff on that too. And
There needs to be some organization. and I suspect that landowners don't have a clue that they're responsible.
They don't.
it,
They have no clue.
it don't hurt me. All I got down there is timber. It's adapted to wood, you know.
But it's some of that fall over too, that's another thing. On mine, the last couple of years,
I've lost a few trees down there, but them beaver do more damage than the wind and stuff and the water.
Okay, what is?
Okay.
It's a funny name.
It used to be called MSC or same one. Same one.
Okay.
Yeah, mine are all fine.
When it was raised, it was MSC or something. So,
Okay, so they're dredging it right now.
yeah, it's
no, it's just stepping.
This one's from Tyler Beach.
You're probably, as we're
That Alder Creek is just Alder Creek, it's not a ditch.
Well, it's called. This one needs to be dredged, have you trucked down, so you talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
You need me for this, talk about changes and bring it out now.
We're good for a few minutes.
So your question is, if they want, if he wants compensated for his estimate, do we notify everybody that pays into it?
We'll agree with that.
See if they can find those guys.
You don't
But
get
it's just
clean
these
with a
two.
ring.
Yeah,
You necessarily solve all of this.
Well,
You think it needs to be dredged.
Well,
But if these two
I
don't,
know.
but if these two don't fix it, they'll be affected.
There's no-
Yeah, it'll be,
Not really, so.
we could take
But
out
no,
2 feet.
the biggest thing was, Kevin's not on a audit sheet.
But taking, Steve said, taking them.
We would get a truck in there to get it out. Well, can you get a truck in there to get that stuff?
I think they either pile it up or they, oh, the wood.
The wood you must call out.
I don't know.
I went out with a small right there.
you know, out.
Can't get people to debris out, that debris doesn't need to be all the way, does it?
I don't think so.
Somebody does.
Don't ask no questions, Arnie.
Yeah.
Behind you or?
That shit floats everywhere. I mean, if it floats, what's it gonna hurt? You know what I mean? Yeah, but the wood, that all floats there. You know what I mean? You can't like, things like that.
Can you haul rock down there to?
Haul a load of rock.
Yeah,
I wouldn't do that.
no, I'm just saying.
You wouldn't get the truck back out.
I'm just saying, I mean, how are you gonna get the truck in and out of there if you got all the?
Well, only thing like, you had these big trucks, articulated dump trucks, and those big blue tires, you might get a few loads out.
I want all those things.
Helicopter.
What are they gonna do?
I think we need to,
What is that gonna do to my ground?
need to
Taking
determine
out
who's
a articulated truck
responsible.
down there. You can't get back there sometime with a pickup. What are you gonna do when them big guys?
No.
Can you put a list together of who are the area, who are the landowners who are responsible for this? And then somehow we need to kind of put some price on what needs to be done. And if just removing debris, there's a cost to that. And that's should be spread over those landowners. If it's going to be just dredged and piled up, there's more cost to that. if there's mitigation, there's cost to that. Find out what the cost is, who the landowners are, and what the cost to each landowner is going to be, and we come up with a solution.
You can come up with a price to take the debris out, probably.
Yeah.
But there's gonna be a lot of landowners that don't even know they're gonna pay on this, right? So it's not gonna be just saying, okay, you're gonna pay $1,000 to clean this ditch, and they don't even know.
But legally, they are responsible.
Well, they are. It's documented back to when it was
They
dredged.
may not know it and they may not like it, but it's legally, they're responsible.
When I just worked on it for January.
2015, I think it was, I went out.
Okay.
And that's what they would take their parts.
Yeah.
That was before we decided to go in and you know, they first we found out that they had a permit, you know, but everybody agreed. That they were parts.
Okay.
So.
Do you have that list yet? I got a list from, 88, whenever it was drenched last. I have that list. But that's, some of that's changed.
So, just throwing some numbers out there, if it costs $10,000 to take the debris out, and $100,000 just to pile it up on the bank, or $500,000 to mitigate, are we the people then who would make the decision that we're gonna do this, and the landowners are going to be responsible for it?
Being a legal drain, I guess it's our decision, and then we force that on the people. Yeah, I suppose.
So, it kind of makes sense to me that you come back with a solid proposal, that this is what needs to be done, this is the cost, this is our estimated cost, this is what it's going to do to the cost to the landowners, and then we make a decision which level of expense we put on it.
Okay.
Do you think there could be any possibility of getting federal funds?
Don't know about that, I don't know.
You know, if the government makes these kind of expensive regulation, they should take on. I mean, we've been doing this ever since that ditch was, dug. It's been first periodically cleaned out, And I just want to come in and say, oh, it's gonna cost you, I don't know, $100,000 or what does it cost, but it's crazy. I mean, I know it's you gotta have clean water and all that, but in order to do that, everybody in the country benefits from that. I mean, you gotta have clean water everywhere, so not the federal government pay for it, and if they, the real thing.
I don't know anything about that, what's available for that.
Well, Ms. Bruckner, if there's something that the board needs to do again in the future, we can always have another drainage board meeting at any time. So let's just take this under advisement for today, and we'll see if you can find, like I said, if there's something we can do, let us know, and we'll try to assist.
Just have to sit down and figure that out, I guess.
Why don't you try to come up with a number to take the debris out? That'll be your part. And then you guys may have to be directly involved in talking to some of the neighbors again, like you did. Try to track down the names, who's gonna pay what.
You would do the whole thing, or just your part?
Well, mine starts on the north end and goes to where it gets Flat Creek. That's the bottom of it, somewhere in there. I could dig that out.
We're about north of the
Not there, I
lake.
don't know what he's got, but.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, not part there, but I would leave it. My allotments are all up in the cropland. I mean, that's where my original allotments were, that's what, we've been cleaning that out for years,
Well, that's where we're gonna get at. See that? See what he just said? Like you won't wanna pay for down there. When we do this ditch, whether we do, it's all gotta be everybody.
But I just said, I would do that in 1,200 feet from Steve's North, and that ain't mine, but I said I would do that, didn't I?
Okay. Everybody, this ditch has been an issue. Everybody's gotta be on board.
Yeah. It's gonna cost me a lot of money. I go in and I ain't got a damn thing invested, really.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Except it's my ground. You know what I'm saying? I don't have no farm ground down there. That's benefiting me any, really. I mean, it drains good enough for me out the other end. But I don't know how much you're willing to spend. I'm not gonna spend a shit pot. I'll sell the damn place, before it gets too bad. If that's what it gets down to.
You own most of the wooded area.
I own, yeah.
His is almost all
Yeah,
wood.
mine's all wood.
I think the only farmland is Arnie's.
Along the ditch, right?
Well, yeah.
But now how far up on you does that go on? That Grandma's Popper ditch, yeah.
It goes all the rest of the hill to the house.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's roughly 3,000 feet from the north end to the levee there. And that's supposed to, me and my dad, my grandpa, we've been cleaning that out for years on our own, other than in 51.
On the levee there, can that water get out in that culvert? Isn't that too high or build up with dirt a lot there on that one drainage,
The main drain.
that thing that goes underneath there?
Well, that's the thing, it don't even, that drain, that pipe don't even get out of the water. I mean, the water is blocked up so high, I can't even see that, where that lid is hanging under the pipe. That's just gonna have to pump all that water out of the cropland, Run out of there.
Me and you and Norman and Aaron go down there and do that sometimes. It's all one water.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
When you think it's time to go down, or just call us and somebody wants to go. Elmer went one time already,
Okay.
back in, whenever you said 15.
15, yeah.
It's got water there now, but maybe when it dries up, we can all go down and look at it again or whatever, see what.
I'd be happy to do that, but, I think it's gonna have to come to a decision as to what you're comfortable with getting done, and then spread that cost out over the landowners.
How many landowners are you speaking about?
I'm sorry.
How many landowners are around this?
There's probably 15 maybe.
I was gonna say 20, but some just had real small allotments,
Mhm.
So it's prorated to each.
and they all have a certain distance along the ditch. Yeah, so much footage, yeah. It's pretty much all documented, who pays what. It's just now it's broken into smaller
So we
pieces.
just need to figure out what the cost is and.
Yeah.
And then what everybody's share is.
Yeah,
Did you talk to Joe Case about owning that dirt already, or he said something?
yeah, I talked to him. Usually he's got articulated dump trucks.
Was he interested in it?
Oh, I said, yeah. Said, just give him a call.
Was he ever down there on the levee?
And, no, he won't go either. It's in Craig down.
I tell you what, that's what he did. I'd be afraid to do it.
And you got somewhere to haul it.
He's got a big 100-acre field right there. Just take a couple acres out of his field and dump it in there.
Jared Bonnick told me that you can do that, and Sam Werner told me I can't haul it and dump it on that.
It has to be on high ground.
That's where selective memory comes in. You write down the one.
That's right.
I don't know what to believe,
It's farmland tile.
Yeah, you'd have to put it on high ground or it'd be defeating the purpose.
Well, folks, for the
You'd have to-
purposes of
you'd
this
have to
meeting,
put it
I'm
on
gonna
hill
close
ground
the
or you'd be
drainage board
defeating the
meeting.
purpose.
I'm gonna close the drainage board meeting so we can move on to other items. But if you do need something from us, again, we're happy to have another drainage board meeting if once you find out more information.
Yeah, that's fine.
Next
Thank
meeting,
you.
otherwise it'll be January the 3rd.
That's correct. Okay. January 3rd is the time block for January 2023. Okay, next up, Markey Rose has an update for COVID on the related issues.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how.
Let's go out here.
We got a couple items. The first one here is just basically an update. A couple weeks ago, I gave you guys an update. So, here we are again. So,
Yes.
So, this comes from Topeka office, the Attorney General here for Indiana. Main thing I'm gonna focus on is number one, the OSHA mandate. That's the one that affects us. So, that's the one I'm really gonna hit on today. So, as you guys are aware, this thing's been going since November 4th, when Biden made the executive mandate that all employers, 100 employees or more, should be required to be vaccinated or tested weekly at the employee's cost, but on the employer's time. So our attorney generally filed a lawsuit challenging Universal Standard. Of course, the Court of Appeals, they prohibited the enforcement of the mandate. So it is basically moving forward. Currently, OSHA is able to enforce that mandate. However, Indiana and other states has filed appeal with the Supreme Court. So with that being said, they're supposed to have a hearing on it on January 7th. So we'll see what happens on that. And then also on the back page at the very bottom, of course, it's their limits of public employers. State and local government employers may not ask employees to provide documentation of vaccine status. So again, that's an Indiana code, which is in direct conflict with the law, but the way it's written right now. So that's the update we got right now. So I say we do exactly what we did 2 weeks ago. Basically hold tight and see how this thing shakes out. So kind of figured it would probably go to the Supreme Court, so here we go. So now whether they'll have a final decision on January 7th, I don't know, but we'll see what happens on January 7th. So,
I agree with Mr. Rhodes, if we hold tight, and we'll see how things play out.
yeah.
Because otherwise, that testing at the employee's cost every week,
Yeah, well,
and the you keeping track of it, it seems like it'd be a burden.
well, and right now I did contact Sean this morning just to see, hey, has anything changed on your test result or testing supplies? And he said, no, not really. They're still limited supply. He's also getting guidance. He's told me that they've got to let us, I assume the state know by the end of business day today or tomorrow on the rapid. They're changing the guidance on who can receive rapids and who can't. So again, which would be in direct conflict with the mandate as it states. So yeah, we got a lot of logistics to work out, no doubt. They're really gonna go live with this for everybody. So, my other order of business I've got is I would like to go ahead and change our COVID policy to a point. The CDC, they had new guidance that came out here at the end of 2021. Basically going from a 10-day window to a 5-day window. So historically, since this outbreak, we have followed the CDC recommendation. So basically, if you test positive for COVID, which is an isolation, everyone, regardless of the vaccine status, would need to stay home for 5 days. If you have no symptoms or symptoms that are resolving in 5 days, you can leave your house, return to work. Continue to wear a mask around others for an additional 5 days. If you have fever, continue to stay home until that fever resolves. Basically going to the quarantine, which is basically you're exposed to someone with COVID-19. If you've been boosted, completed your primary series of Pfizer or Moderna within the last 6 months, or completed your Johnson & Johnson vaccine within the last 2 months, you can wear a mask for 10 days. If you develop symptoms, get tested, stay home, obviously. Under that quarantine, if you have completed your Pfizer or Moderna vaccine over 6 months ago, or are not boosted, or completed your Johnson & Johnson over 2 months ago and are not boosted, or just unvaccinated in general, you need to stay home for 5 days. After that, continue to wear your mask for the additional 5 days. What I've got in red is under current CDC guidelines, but I talked to Sean this morning. I'm not in favor of it. He's not in favor of it either. I think it opens up a big window. CDC guidelines says if you can't quarantine, you must wear a mask for 10 days. Typically, we follow CDC guidelines, but we can change them to fit our own. Our concern is if we let people coming in here, they're not going to wear the mask right, and if they do get positive, then we're going to have a huge outbreak, which we don't want. So that's the only thing I would recommend omitting from that.
You recommend omitting
omitting what's in red, yeah. Because I think basically we're wanting to, if you are exposed, and definitely if you're not vaccinated or out of that vaccination window, I think we want to, at least have you off for 5 days, make sure you don't develop symptoms and expose your other coworkers and that.
I guess part of me says we should probably go with it as written. I don't wanna play doctor over the CDC. On the other hand, otherwise I could take the whole thing apart and tell you different things that I think are right or wrong.
Yeah, I've got an opinion on this.
Well, yeah.
I don't see the point in quarantining if you're exposed. Because I think at this point, we're all exposed. If you go to Walmart, you go grocery shopping, you wait in line, you're exposed.
Yep, you're right. Yes.
So I don't see that point, but if that's CDC's recommendations right now, I can't say that I could come up with better ones. I'm not a healthcare professional.
Commissioner Brahms,
No, I agree.
you wanna leave the red in there or get rid of it?
And we can leave it.
That's the question.
Yeah, that's no big deal to leave it in there. That's just, I think it comes to the department head, they're still going to have to fill out their forms like, the forms that checks marks the box that they're quarantined or whatnot. It's not going to change the remote work policy, anything like that. It's not going to change any of that. It's going to come down to that department head to make sure that they're, obviously they're wearing their mask right and, stuff like that.
So what you're
saying is that in lieu of quarantining, if you leave the red in there, what you're saying is in lieu of quarantining, you can wear a mask for 10 days.
Basically, it would actually help out. I mean, the highway guys, it would help them out tremendously.
But what you're recommending is that we go ahead and quarantine and do not provide that option.
Correct. Yeah, but,
You're saying make it more stringent.
a little bit, yeah.
A little bit.
But it would help the highway guys because they can't work from home or anything like that. So if you can't quarantine, they would just have to make sure those guys wear their masks, for 10 days.
But the unfortunate part is,
That's only on quarantine. If they're positive, they have to be off.
it says if you are unvaccinated, but we don't know who's vaccinated and who isn't, we can't ask.
Correct. So it's a honor system,
Same
basically.
thing up here.
Which throughout all of 2021, we still had this isolation and quarantine. That's basically what we were doing was the CDC recommendation. And, throughout all of 2021, we didn't have any, I didn't hear of any issues. I didn't see any issues whenever we were implementing our current policy that we currently have.
I would be in favor of following the complete CDC policy.
And I don't have a problem with the red in there.
Okay.
Commissioner Brahms?
Well, I think I'd be in favor of following your recommendation for the simple fact that, and it's such a gray area anyway. I mean,
These aren't people
to
that
your
tested
point,
positive down here. These are people who.
These are people
These
who
have been exposed.
they have been exposed, but they've not had the proper,
And if they develop symptoms,
yes.
they're supposed to take a test. and stay home.
Correct.
That should solve.
I don't think,
I guess in the grand
We're not
scheme
gonna
of things,
contract trace this thing down at this point. And that's what this quarantine kind of does. Like,
I don't,
You're
leaving it in there or
exposed,
taking
we're
it
gonna
out,
leave
I
you.
don't see it really affecting much.
No.
Because of what you said. We don't know who's vaccinated and who's not. I don't.
And to be honest,
It's kind of gonna be an honor system anyway.
Yeah, and to be honest, that the contract tracing is backed up so much that the only, I think right now, the true people that know that they're a close contact is those close people that say, hey, you were at my party on New Year's Eve and I've had tested positive for COVID. That's what's really happening is more or less on the personal side anyway, that they're so backlogged at the state level that.
I mean, at this point, if you have symptoms, you should stay home. you should probably get a test to know if your symptoms are COVID or just
Correct.
cold.
Correct.
And then follow like you would with the flu. I mean, if you're sick, you stay home. If you're not, and you're asymptomatic, you're not even gonna know it.
Right.
I mean, unless we just test the asymptomatic, which I think is kind of pointless. But if you have symptoms, stay home. Real simple.
I just want, at the end of the day, if somebody says, why did you do what you did? Well, because CDC said it wasn't. We didn't try to manipulate it.
No.
I feel like I can feel comfortable with, following the guidance at this point.
I'm
As
comfortable
I
following it.
said, I don't think it makes a lot of difference either way. It's kind of honor system and
It's like you said, the people that were gonna come to work with a fever anyway, they're still gonna come to work. So like, people that care, that stayed home when they were ill, they'll probably still do that. It's gonna be hard to.
And if department heads have somebody coming in, coughing and wheezing and, exhibiting symptoms, they should probably send them home. Pretty simple.
are we having any, what I would call people taking advantage of the policy?
No.
To where they say, hey, I've been, I'm a close contact. We don't know whether they were or not, but I'm a close contact. I need to be off for 5 days.
No, we have not
That's
had
been
that.
happening because they have to burn their PTO.
Yeah, burner PTO, yeah.
Correct. Yeah, our policy's kind of, well, again, this is like the CDC guidelines, so to speak. So we would follow the guidelines, but then our own policy of how you use accrued sick or PTO or unpaid time, that's all, we approved that already, and that wouldn't change. So.
I'm gonna move that we approve the COVID guidelines, the guidance for isolation and quarantine as it's been presented here in full.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
All right. That's all I have, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thanks, sir. All right, I've got 2 more things. We have 1 minute to do it, because I said we'd be out here at 10. Just kidding, we won't. It's not gonna happen.
Told you.
Okay, 911 build out. I sent you both the numbers for that. I've been in touch, Commissioner Promise has talked to Sharman, I've talked to Sharman, I've talked to Matt Crimp with Crimp Construction, and we've had a little bit of a dialogue. I guess we need to determine, one thing that concerned me about this, they said, well, we're 18 months out, it's hard to bid because prices go up every day. He said even one of the people that has gave him a price on something within this document said, I can't honor that anymore. So the prices are just keep going up. What we have to decide as a county, is it worth between $700,000 and $800,000 to move 911 from where it is to renovate this block of the jail to let them up there. If money's not an object, it's a great idea. We get them on the same campus. It's best long-term for the county, but we don't live in a world where money doesn't matter.
And one other benefits, gives the health department a little bit more space.
And in addition to this 766, we're still gonna have to pay, we're gonna pay for it anyway. I think the council brought this up at their meeting. The $250,000 for the console and some of the other stuff that we're gonna be buying that anyway. But really, we're gonna be spending $250,000 out there to replace the console. If it's up here, it's gonna be $1 million total to have a new facility with, that will account for any future growth if there would be any. It'll be on the same campus. I mean, there's a lot of benefits to doing it. Is this amount of money scare anybody? Is this amount of money? And what I asked them too, I said, why are we bidding 18 months in advance? Why? Of course, they're gonna have to pad it. I would pad it if I was them. And the answer was the construction manager, the designer, everybody, for them, it's kind of, I guess it's in their benefit because it's supposedly in our benefit because we know what our price is now. We won't have to take future price increase risk. Also, it allows them to account for staging it once. They're going to be up there doing EMA already. They're going to be doing other stuff there, the staging once, and they're going to have their equipment there. Supposedly that could be a cost savings. Whereas if we did all this work and we had another company come in and do it in a couple of years, I guess they'd have to mobilize it. I don't know. It seems, my understanding was they were gonna do this work earlier in the project, but they're talking like this is going to be later on. So I don't know, what is the position of the board on this? If we say, no, you're staying where you are, it's working now, but it doesn't help the health department. It isn't the best long-term, but it's expensive. So I guess what we could do, I think we have two options. We could say, well, we're out $30,000, $31,000 or whatever that we paid for the design, and we say it's higher than we expected. We're not interested. We just let it sit. Nothing changes. We have a cell block up there that can be used in the future for whatever we want. Or we can say commissioners are satisfied to move forward with this, and then we pass it to the council to see if they are interested in funding it. I mean, I think those are the only options.
Obviously, these are estimates, 700,000. These are estimates at this point.
Well,
I know there was talk about doing value engineering on it to see if they couldn't bring that number down. But in the end, it's still going to be a bid or a quote from those companies, a bid from those companies, I guess, in the end, before we know exactly what it's going to cost.
my understanding is this is what it'll cost, because they're asking for a change order in this amount, meaning this is what they're gonna charge us. Not to exceed this amount, which means this amount. Because that's how I read it. It says, we are requesting a change order in the amount, add $390,000.
And they're not, in the discussion that I was involved with there with Sharman and Cramp and the architect, was that they were gonna go back and look at it again with all the appropriate people and see whether there wasn't something you were talking about, doing something a different way, for example, and seeing whether that wouldn't affect the pricing. Have they done all that?
So I had a call with Les on 12:30. I said, where are we at with this? If you, well, we're looking at it, we've done this, and he said they haven't found anything. And I said, anyway, I thought I'd go directly to Matt. I said, Matt, we want to get this project done, and I said, I understand it's labor intensive. There's a lot of, because it's not like a home where it's studded wood stud walls that you can break down. It's all concrete and steel because it's for jail. And he said, they talked about like that ceiling, taking that out. And he said, that's not going to save you anything. It might even cost you more. And they've looked at those things, and he said, this is the best it's going to get.
Good.
So Les didn't have anything positive to say about the price getting down, and Crep didn't either.
Good.
So my guess is this is about what we're going to be. I get asked to verify that I'm correct that these prices are what they're going to be. I mean, that these are prices they're going to hold to, not that they will rebid them again.
So do we have to bid this project?
No,
Or
because
it's
it
just
is
a change order?
it's a change order. So that's where if we said, and I've had Baker Tilly say that if it's on that campus and it's with justice related, then we can use the CNR money to do this. If we were to say, we're gonna build a new 911 on the same 911 campus, and we did an extension and we did that, then we've got to come up with funds from a different account, or we got to account for it somewhere else.
It's a lot of money, but I think I'm in favor of moving forward with it. Yeah, I mean, we could probably build the same number of square feet out where they're at in the parking lot, out behind the building, for a similar dollar. I don't know that, but at the same time, it just feels right to move it out there.
I think we could build a new building somewhere else for cheaper, but it won't be on this campus. It won't be integrated with the other security systems. It won't have there's a lot of benefits that we would lose.
I think in the long run for the county, place it needs to be.
It's 250,000 more than I thought it was gonna be. I think 2 years ago, they would have said it would have been half of this.
I think I agree. I'd like to see it move up there. Honestly, since we started the jail study, we talked about shuffling offices around and, we looked at a building downtown. And I still like the idea of trying to consolidate our campus as much as possible into 1, 2, 3 locations rather than, the health department's one place, the jail is another, the courthouse is another, and we've got our annex. And I still think sometimes a big shuffle, if this was a corporation, I was the head, and I'm gonna set us up for the next 50 or 100 years, that's the route I'd go. Try to get us in a situation where we can grow into our offices and not be doing this kind of shuffle around every couple of years.
What was your question?
I said you studying what you're making sure.
Okay, maybe you can give us a summary in a minute. So how about this? We will say that we aren't opposed to moving forward, that I'll check with our construction manager to ensure that these prices we won't get an additional surprise in addition to these, which I don't think we will. I think they've considered that this will be of when they will be doing this work. I think they've counted on that. And then I'll get with Council President Kleesner and see what the council wants to do with it. Now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, if it is just a change order, we've already got a contingency involved with this project that's high enough that we could probably do it without the council.
I think they talked about that. I think Mike talked about that.
But I don't think that that's the route to go. I think we should still have the council involved.
Yeah, I think so.
But
Because that leaves less money in your contingency fund.
Mhm.
I think what Mr. Kleesner said at that meeting too was the income has been above where we thought it would be. And there still will be money, for example, if it was for rehabilitative services, there's still gonna be plenty of funds there for that. But maybe I'll ask him I'll just get him involved. Okay, so that's that. And the final thing that I had was this multi-factor authentication. I think I sent this to you as well. I still don't feel like I know where I'm at. It goes back to that time. It'd be nice to have an IT person to say, I don't know what you're talking about. This is whatever. The bottom line is they're telling us it's $13,841. That will give us licenses for a year. They will get everything set up and installed, $13,841. Then going forward, we wouldn't pay the professional services fee, we would just pay the licensing fee. So that's about half of that would be our ongoing expense, if I understand correctly. Unless we add more users, then we pay per license. You have anything to add on that?
I haven't even read your thing, so.
Well, this is, all I have here is the quote they gave back in November. Either of you have a thought on this? We have to have it to keep cyber insurance. Unless we want to say, we're just going to do it without cyber insurance, then we'll take our chances.
I think that's risky.
I think that's risky too. I'm just saying that's an option.
And I'm sorry, I read the email, but it was from Tim Bell. Was going to get back to you on something else or another option. Am I right?
Back in November, that's what I asked him. I said, can you check other policies? They're going to charge us $13,000 a year. Do you have other vendors or other people that can sell us a cyber policy that wouldn't mandate that we have multi-factor authentication? He said, yeah, I'll definitely do that. And he said he checked with Zach Sickle, his boss, and he checked with his broker, and all of the carriers are now requiring it. So we're good until March or something, in May. We're covered with our cyber policy for another few months, but
Our travelers expires in May.
so we're gonna have to
And you have to have it in place before then, so that's why we're looking at March.
I think I think if they're gonna require it, we're gonna have to go with it. Even if they didn't, it's still a positive step, as far as security is concerned. Is it, you know, is the money right? Is the price right? I can't say that. I don't know that. But, I think.
I think the cost is very minimal if you look at ransomware.
Yeah.
If we get caught.
No, you look at yeah, right.
What bugs me about it, and I've tried to get an answer from it, and I don't think that they're being disingenuous or they're not telling me the facts. Maybe I just don't think I'm understanding it. I don't think I'm getting it. Because the Microsoft product that we already have has multi-factor authentication that we can use. And they're saying, well, you can use that, but then 25 people that are administrators, they're gonna have a different license and they're gonna have two different things that they're gonna have to use to log in, and it makes it more difficult. So if you do it this way, it simplifies it for your administrator. And I said, well, how much of a burden is it for the administrators? In other words, if it's a little bit of a burden, I don't care to burden them if it's 30 seconds extra a day, but if it's,
200 employees.
no, the employees would have
The
one.
administrator would have to administrate it, right? Or we're talking two different things, never mind.
So like a normal user, a deputy in her office would have to log in, they'd have a key or they would have some way of getting a secondary.
You'd either have a number on your
Security.
phone through an authenticator, or your phone would have to call you, or your phone, something else would have to give you a secondary call.
Just like you do with other websites, maybe you have where it says, your code is good for 1 minute, it's 95321. So you put 95321 in your computer and it lets you in. So you have your password, that's your first level, and then this is your second factor. So I still don't think I get it. Because I think it includes the product, it's included in our product, it should be cheaper to use that, and then I don't know how often the administrators would have to use it to log in, maybe it's every day, maybe it's.
That's stuff I think we need to see.
So I'm trying to ask them,
Why won't
make me
Microsoft
understand, why doesn't it work? And they explain it, I don't get it. So that's why I sent you that email, and maybe you guys can read through it and see if you know something better than me. Or we can ask them to come in and explain it to us in person. I think it's gonna come down to that they're giving us what they think is the best solution, so they're just gonna come in and try to tell us why it's the best solution. And maybe it is, it probably is.
That's just it, we just gotta take somebody else's word for it, because we don't know.
Because I think if I sat down with those guys, I don't think that they're looking at us like, oh, we're gonna get in their pocket and get a little more money. I don't think that they're doing that.
I don't think so either, and I guess that's where I'm at. You know, if they're telling us that's what we need, and that's the best, I have no reason not to trust them.
Other than they are a business and it.
Well, sure, but they've never given us any evidence that they, tried to take advantage of us in any way that I know of.
But how would you know?
Well, I don't know.
That's where I'm
And
at.
again, I don't want to say, I'm not saying anything bad about them. I think they've been a good partner, but it's,
We saw our
we
costs
don't know.
more than double in the last couple of years.
But the risk is doubled in the past couple of years too.
Right, I'm just saying, I don't understand all of it, I don't understand
I think that's the big thing, we rely so heavily on this, that if it's gone for an hour, we know it. They can't function without these things anymore. And it used to be, you didn't really,
And to that point, at our organization, other place I work, we've got 3 IT people. So
I think
it takes a lot to keep it going.
it'd be really nice to have one IT person on staff, kind of like we have Marky for our HR, that he can bounce these ideas off of, that helps us work through these kind of contracts, and says, yes, you do need it, and here's why, but here's
it's gonna take
3 other.
one-on-one.
And it might, and we said the same thing about HR, and I think he's probably pretty busy in there too. But sometimes you just gotta get one in the door so that we realize what we're missing out on.
So do we want to drag this out any further, examine it any further, or just say, we trust that this solution that you provided will meet our needs and implement it?
I can't imagine that in the next month or two, we're gonna learn anything more about this than we know right now.
Hey, do we have any way to pay $13,841?
we just got a new budget here, so I have some money in a line item now, but that might mean that somebody doesn't get computers this year, or we have to get more computer, I mean, have to budget for those later.
Additional appropriation.
Right. Because I gotta look who's on the next rotation.
So are we on board with just accepting this offer if it still stands and move forward?
I think so.
All right, then because it is a, Mr. Chairman, do you remember looking at this back in November?
I believe I did, yes.
You have
It's from Matrix.
Yes,
Whether that, yes, I remember looking at that one.
okay,
It's our most recent one from Matrix.
so,
We get a lot from them.
pardon me?
I read a lot from them.
Yes. So I will move that we accept proposal number 72730 for Matrix Integration for the amount of $13,841 for materials, labor, and licensing for multi-factor authentication.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
You know that one sign,
Yeah, I guess we can do that. Did you like it? I appreciate you doing that. That saved me from scanning it and getting it to them. So, I have no other business today. Yeah. Mr. Schneider?
The county did close last Thursday on the piece of property out by Woodland Hills. Deed was recorded on December the 30th, so. And we got paid.
We got what?
We got paid.
Okay, and so with that, the self-disclosure form, everything will have been filed in the last year, so it should be up for assessment January 1st, so that the person will be paying taxes 2023.
Correct.
Good, okay, anything else?
Won't be a lot on that piece of property, but more than we were paying.
I forwarded that email to you, Greg.
Yes, Chief Schmidt had reached out to the prosecutor's office. I reached out to them as well on that restitution for the dog claim. So the opinion there is that it should not be either entity's responsibility. And that it's not closed out, so they may be able to still increase the restitution claim through the court system.
So what direction should we give the owner? Don't pay the bill?
What it sounds like.
That's what it sounds like, yes. So the prosecutor handling it is not in. She is copied on this email. I spoke with Prosecutor Quinn. He's aware of it as well, and now Chief Schmidt has responded to him directly, added him directly into the correspondence. With the opinion coming from the city, it sounds like that neither the county nor the city should be responsible for it, and that they can still seek it through restitution.
So just like any other case that the prosecutor proceeds with, if there's expenses regarding that case, they manage that.
They can pass it on to the defendant in the case through restitution.
Thank you. So we'll take no action at this time,
Right.
and we'll get you a letter. Stacy. Anything else, Mr. Chairman?
I don't believe so, no.
Guess we'll do the public. Is there any public comment? Okay. Auditor?
No.
Okay. Mr. Hostetter?
I do that.
Mr. Brown?
No, I have nothing. I plan to get to work on the, that health position, for that health grant. Now that we've crossed the first of the year, and I think you sent me an email from the lady who will help us with that. I responded to her and asked her to put me on the contact list as well, and she did. So I'm gonna work with Marky and see what we can work out.
I spent a little time on this weekend looking up Jay County, Kosciuszko County, and there's a town. Those are people in the first cohort. And I looked in their media and just tried to see, how did they do it? What did the media report? Did they have somebody in-house doing it already, or did they hire a new person? I found nothing really. And I even went through the Kosciuszko minutes, and they never it was in their one reference back in September that they were going for it. So I emailed their commissioner president, and he hasn't got back with me yet, but, because I figured whatever other people are doing, at least that can give us
Yeah, that's,
some guidance.
that's the kind of work we'll do.
That's what,
I said, that's the kind of thing we'll do. We'll look into those things and.
I wonder if they're starting theirs like now.
yeah, they did
In
their,
22, I mean,
Sometime,
hiring and doing everything in 22.
sometime in January is the start of their process, yeah.
so their cohort is already starting this month, right? So they have to have somebody, you would think that they would have started their hiring process in December when they were formally awarded. But maybe not.
So let me work with Marty and we'll do some research and see what we can come up with.
Got it. Anything else?
Nope.
Anybody else in the room have anything? To close the meeting right on time, like I said.
I do have a question that I would like you to ponder.